It's quite actually nuts what some lighting can do to your space. For myself, depending on how the day looks, I'm spending anywhere from 12 to 16 hours at my desk, whether it's my day job, content creation, or gaming. For the last couple years though, I have been using some light bulbs from Nanoleaf, and while those have been incredible for setting scenes, moods, and even just practical lighting, I've wanted to add a little bit more to my setup in terms of lighting. I've also got a set for my living room TV, which is a more traditional setup where I can get a lot of gaming and movies in. So I will be showing both my desk setup and my living room TV. Today I do have two things I am going to be adding, and one is for the back of my TV and one is for my wall. I've recently swapped out my monitor for the LG C3 OLED, which is actually a TV, and it's pretty much one of the only glossy high refresh OLED monitors on the market, and since it is a TV, it's actually quite perfect for this setup. This is the Nanoleaf 4D lighting kit, which syncs the light strips to whatever is on your TV at the time of, as well as any other Nanoleaf lights you might have in your space. Getting into the box though, we've got the camera, the TV mount, the corner thingies, whatever they're called, as well as the power cable and the control unit. Installation though is actually pretty easy. The first thing I did was install the corner things that do better allow your light strip to bend the corners of your TV, which is definitely better than bending them. The corner things are also somewhat bendable, so if you do have different levels to your TV like mine, this is actually super useful. After that, it is just a matter of sticking the light strip to your TV. I definitely recommend starting on the bottom middle, since that's probably where you want the Type-C connector to end. From there though, I do just simply follow the edges of my display, sticking the light strip the best I can. This part can be quick or slow depending on how much of a perfectionist you might be. But once you've gone all the way around, there are specific spots on the light strip you can cut so it fits perfect to your display size. In my case, I'm using a 42-inch display. Now after that, it is just a matter of setting up the camera, which can either be mounted on your desk or TV stand, or you can place it in the included camera mount. For myself, I did end up using the camera mount option since I do prefer keeping my desk a little bit more tidy. It just slips right in, and there's also channeling on the mount itself to keep your cable secure and out of sight. Once that's done, simply plug everything into the control box, and then you can use the Nanoleaf app to set everything else up. For that, it's just a matter of scanning the included code, depending on whether you're Android or iOS. In my case, I am using Apple's HomeKit across all of my devices, which does allow me to use Siri to control everything and even set some automations. That I'll get further into in a bit. In here though, for setup, you can adjust where your light strip corners anchor to, as well as the capture area that your camera will use for your display. Once it's all set up though, we've got this awesome light which on its own already elevates my space, and this is without any sort of customization. In terms of features, there are more than just a couple things you can do here. The first thing, which is actually likely the main reason to get this, is to actually sync with your content that's on your display. In this case, the camera uses what's on your display and syncs your lights to match the colors that are actually showing on screen. Something awesome here too is that if you do have other lights in your space, the lighting can sync across all of these. What's odd is that the lights that I already had said that this feature is coming soon, but it kind of worked anyways, which is pretty sweet. And even if you don't want to sync it up, you can always use the pre-made scenes for whatever you're feeling at the time of, and if you want to, there is a magnetic privacy cover for the camera. For myself, if I am filming content or doing any sort of work, I actually just set my lights to a nice warm white. I will touch more on this when I do go into the app and features, but it's awesome to just have this much customizability on my lighting entirely. Now this is the 4D lighting kit, but there are other levels to this. 1D sort of looks like a basic white ambient light that changes in intensity depending on what's on your display. 2D looks like it takes the dominant color and sort of flows it through the light strip. 3D seems to take multiple colors from your display and sort of flows it through the entire lighting setup. And 4D, of course, is the direct synced match to whatever is on your display. To add to my entire space as well, I am using this lines kit, which does allow you to set up and customize designs on your wall. For this setup, I have the 9 light kit as well as 3 line expansions for a total of 12. I could have totally guessed to put something up on my wall, but I actually just used the inspiration tab in the app. For this, I just input how many lines I have, which of course is 12, and it showed me some options I can do for the setup, and I did end up going with this one. The lines installation was actually super satisfying. You could almost pay me to do this, but you'll definitely want to plan this one out since the 3M tapes here are actually really strong. The instructions pretty much show you to pick a starting point and just build from there. For me, I started with the control puck and one single line and just referenced my design photo to build it through. Each line snapped in with a satisfying click, and overall it was really easy to put together. And the in-app setup was just about the same as the 4D kit as well. Simply scan the code and sync to your smart home service. After setting this all up and updating the firmware, I was able to set up the room sync as well, like I mentioned, which really ties together the entire experience. And I think there's a mic also built in here, since there is the rhythm feature that changes the intensity of the light depending on what's coming through your speaker setup. I imagine this wouldn't work if you are wearing a headset, but a loud cough or noise syncs this up too. Again, for gaming and media as well, the colors do shift super smoothly regardless of what's on your display, and this does a great job. Now inside the app, there's an absolute massive amount of functionality and customization, which could almost have a video on its own, but I'll just talk about some of my favorite features. Now, as a longtime Nanoleaf user, I have gotten accustomed to jumping in here and changing all my lights all at once, or individually depending on what I'm doing. Depending on if I'm gaming or filming, like I mentioned, I'm going to have different choices. You can set scenes to individual lights or your entire room all at once, and there really is a whole lot here, which is pretty sweet. One of the features here I haven't seen before though is this magic scene option, which also works across other Nanoleaf products, where you can type something in and it'll create a scene based off of what you input. For myself, I chose just a couple colors, or you can choose a sports team, and I'm looking forward to playing around with this more. And even if you don't want to set a scene or something, you can do solid colors or even different white temperatures. When I am filming videos, the white temperature is actually a huge one for me, since something as simple as a warm white versus a cool white makes all the difference for the mood of my video. Not to mention, if you are using any sort of smart home automations, this brings a good level of convenience. For my setup, every day at 7 p.m. my lights turn to a soft warm white at 30% brightness. This shift in lighting lets me know when it's time to get down to any sort of scripting or editing I need to do. If I leave my house, the lights will turn off. Likewise, once I'm home, they will turn on, or I can turn them on automatically. And if you're one of those people that prefer to use the Apple Home app instead of the Nanoleaf, you can do that. I do frequently pop into my Apple Home app on my Mac or iPad while I'm working to turn off my lights or change the intensity or anything else. I also use Siri specifically a ton for my office lighting, from asking for specific colors to changing the entire office space or the brightness. Set office lights to green. And if for any reason you don't want to use the apps, or say your internet is out, you can actually still control all your lights with the physical controllers. Of course, there won't be as much customization as in the apps, but you can change the brightness, turn on or off, or even swap scenes. The 4D controller has a power button, screen mirror option, the rhythm option, as well as a button to flip through all the default color scenes. And similarly, the lines controller does allow you to flip through scenes, change the brightness up or down, or again, just turn it on and off. So with this whole setup, what do I think? Honestly, I really dig it, especially for gaming and creative work. I don't particularly watch a lot of content in my office space, but whenever I did, I chose to set the lighting to around 30 or 40%. Since the lights get super bright, I didn't really want it to be overpowering. For gaming specifically, I absolutely pump the lights to 100% and go to town. Outside of that, I'm absolutely infatuated with the Apple HomeKit integration and also having a sweet design up on my wall. Now, it's definitely going to be different from person to person, but these are just some of the ways I've used these new kits to enhance my space. But let me know what you guys think. How would you be setting this up? If you do have any questions about the setup or anything else, let me know down below in the comments. I really appreciate you watching till the end. Till next time.